Okay, great. All right, I'm Bill Belichick.
Roger Goodell.
It's a pleasure to be here with you on draft day and my first media interview.
On this side.
Yeah, it's an honor to interview you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Coach. It's an honor to be with you always.
Thank you.
I hear Pat drew up some fan questions and a little bit of Pat questions for us. So
see what Pat's got up his sleeve.
Let's see what we got. We'll go one at a time and pop it off. What are your thoughts on the growth of the NFL draft? So I guess I'm supposed to go first. I'll tell you, I'm amazed at the interest in our game, and I think the draft is a great example of that. As you know, we made changes to shorten rounds. We took it in prime time. We did some things to make it more friendly. But the way the fans wrap their arms around us, and it's that day of hope where everybody sort of renews their hope, the fans, the teams, and we start over. It's really officially the start of the new season for us. So.
It really does kick the season off. It's gonna be fun for me. You know, I've been in those rooms for many years, worrying about the picks and what's gonna happen in trades and all that. I'm just gonna sit back and have some fun up here today. It's an amazing event.
No one can second guess what you're doing today, huh? All right, that's that one. You do that one.
Thoughts on the hip drop tackle being banned, keeping football. Yeah, I think over the years the NFL's done a great job of making the game safer for players. The targeting, the horse collar tackle, the hip drop. There really aren't very many of them. I think there was maybe only a dozen or so last year. But it's a good thing to get rid of. It's just, there's really no place for it. And it's just good to continue to keep the game safe for the players.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach. You know, when you see a play, as you know, we use data a lot to try to identify the rules that we want to change and whether what we do is effective. When you see a play that is greater than 20 times the injury rate, and as you know, most of those injuries are pretty severe.
They are.
Career-ending or season-ending. You've got to make a change. And as you know, coaches, players adjust. And I think we've been able to make our game safer and more exciting at the same time.
It's definitely helped the game be safer.
Yeah.
All
right. How do you predict the new kickoff rules will work out? The one thing I'll predict is that we'll bring the kickoff back into the game.
That's a good thing.
I think that's a good thing. I think it's an exciting play. We are confident that we can reduce the injury rate with the new format because we will have less speed and force. The players will all be 10 yards apart in the beginning. And I think that's going to make a big difference, and I hope make an exciting play. But as you know, we may need to tinker with it over the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, it's just a little bit different because there's no lead-in period. It's just jumping right in and start playing. But I think this is an offensive rule. As a defensive coach, I don't think the defense coaches are going to like this rule. It's going to create good field position. I think it's going to bring much more value into the returners. Those extra 1,500 plays. And you better have two good returners because if you only have one, they're kicking the other side. So you better be able to handle the ball with both guys. And I think there's going to be some explosive plays. In the past, you were able to overlap your coverage with a second layer. Well, now those guys are spread across the field. So if the returner, if he gets a little seam, it could be all over. I think we're going to see a lot more long returns on kickoffs than we've seen in the past. Which
should be great for the fans.
Love it.
As you say, it may not be so great for the defenses.
Well, okay. Those teams will get their shot on offense too. All right, Pat, thoughts on the current state of NFL officiating?
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah. Well, I would say this, the speed and athleticism and how great these athletes are on sideline catches and reaching out the ball on the goal line and all those things, it's tough. It's really, I give those guys a lot of credit. They're right a lot more than they're wrong, and I've been one to argue with them on the sidelines when I go back and look at it.
We've seen that a few times, Coach.
Me? But most of the time they get it right and they do a good job. I think that the replay assist sped up the game last year. I thought that was good. That it really corrected some things that turned out to be obvious, and that was a good addition. And I guess the one thing is always a question about is making officials full time. Maybe at least the referees, where they have that constant, talking about situations, and I think that's the biggest thing in the league is as a coach is you just want consistency. And sometimes you have games that are called tightly, and then the next week you feel like you're playing the same way, and it's not called tightly, and so. I don't know, maybe your thoughts on that?
No, you're right on the consistency. We all use that as our barometer, and I think it's the consistency in the calls on the field, the consistency from crew to crew. which, as you know, has varied, and we've tightened that a little bit in the past year. But I do think the officials do an amazing job. But it is a fast game, and it's imperfect. I'm watching playoffs in other sports, and those guys are full time, and I'm seeing the same kind of controversy. So I think it's part of officiating. I think it's part of the position they're in, a difficult job. And we saw that a little bit this year. The Kansas City play with Buffalo, that was an obvious offsides. The officials have to call that, no matter the moment. That's not fair to the other team. Buffalo would have had a legitimate right if that play had gone forward without a flag. So we know they're in a tough spot, and I don't think they get enough credit for it, but we're always going to go for that perfection. And when we can use technology, replay is really the thing that we think we can use more of. And I think every year you've seen us, and you know this because you've been a big proponent in the past, is let's use more of it.
Commissioner, I'm going to put in my annual pitch. Cameras on the goal line, cameras on the sideline, cameras on the end line.
That is the annual pitch. All right, last card. The NFL is the greatest league on earth. Why do you think that's the case? I think it always starts with the game. There's so many aspects of the game that I think are appealing. The strategy, the contact, the incredible athleticism, the fact that you have to play as a team is, and how people come together. The fact that you have games that go from, a team way behind and a team comes back. I just think it's that kind of a game that people love to root for, and it's an event. I think the fact that we're every week, you get the post-game criticism and the evaluations and try to break it down, and then you start looking to the next week and the excitement builds. I think that event is a big part of it too.
And on the visiting side, when we go to the away stadiums, there's a lot of people in the parking lot. There's a lot of tailgating. Yeah. It's not just the game. They get there and make it an event, but it's so competitive. The thing I love about the NFL is every week anybody can beat anybody, and anybody can lose to anybody. If you're not on your best, then you're probably not going to do well. So the way it's structured, both from acquiring players and salary cap and competitively, it really evens out, and I love the competition of it.
And we make it hard for you when you win.
You do.
We've had a team go from last to first. I think 19 out of the last 20 seasons. And to your point, that competitiveness, we've had 70% of our games within one score in the fourth quarter. Yeah. That's great football, great entertainment.
It really is.
Yeah.
And
well, thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it, Commissioner. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Pat.
Appreciate it, Pat.